Howdy folks, Justin here, and I'm pleased to be looking at the brand new reward card we're going to get for playing in February. Um, this is the card that's rewarded for, you get 3 copies for hitting rank 1, you get 2 copies for hitting rank 5, and maybe 3 copies for hitting rank 9 or 8, or 1 copy, I'm sorry, something like that. But either way, this card will be available to craft come March 1st, and I really think this card is interesting. The first thing I want to talk about is its applications in Constructed, where it's definitely, I think, even though it's only been visible for about 12 hours, I think it's a little underrated. There are a number of cards that I've started to appreciate more and more as I look through every nook and cranny in this game to find new cards to put into decks, right? Because we've been playing with pretty much the same cards for about 9 months now. And one of those cards that I've recently really begun to enjoy is Orb of Vermina. What Orb of Vermina and cards like it, I think, are best suited to do is give a control deck really teched against aggro decks a way to pull ahead when their deck is full of cards that don't really impact your game against Control Spell Sword or Control Mage. Orb of Vermina lets you draw 3 cards from a deck that is full of high impact cards and can mean the difference between a win and a loss sometimes in those battles of the Manticora or stuff like that those games sometimes become in the control on control games. Heroic Rebirth, I think, is a card that's very similar, right? This is a card where and the example I want to use is my Tears of Giant Fears deck. This is one of the leanest looking control decks I've ever played, right? You're looking at a whole bunch of anti-aggro tech. I built the deck when, or I conceived of the deck when there was a lot more Prophecy Battle Mage than there is, in the recent weeks. By the way, the new look of the deck list over there is really eye-catching. I really appreciate that. But as a result, you're running stuff like Scav and Pyromancer, which you can use to edge out resources in a on control match, but stuff like Ravenous Hunger, Broom of Profiteer is particularly guilty of this. Cards that aren't going to give you a whole lot of value in the long game against a control deck. When you are running something like Heroic Rebirth, what you can do is turn those cards and the next 2 crappy creature cards you draw into random legends, and these are unique legends, so let's take a look at some of the cards we're going to have access to then. And pound for pound, I think you're going to find that a unique legendary worth more than a Broom of Profiteers, just as an example. And even though you're trading 1 resource in for this, you're going to be at card disadvantage. I think the significant increase in card quality may end up being worth it. Of course, I cannot spell the word unique. Okay, so here are our options. We got Reeve, we have Nakreen, the only legendary card I don't have, Devaith Fear, actually the only card in general I don't have. Can't turn it into Dawnbreaker, but Marak, huge value there. Ungolem, if you're not playing a green deck and you turn something into an Ungolem, that could be a huge change for a long control matchup. Tazcat, obviously great. Lucian Lachance, on the weaker end of things you can get, but still likely more valuable than what you're training into, transforming. Nahagleev, great card. And then there's all of these, right? Imagine grabbing a Merrick, or grabbing an Elena, or a Gortwog, or an Iron, Red Brahmin, a Nasi, High King, General Tullius, even a Doring Fan, right? Or Odoving. These are all cards that can really shift the direction a matchup is going, and you get to do this 3 times. I'm really actually pretty excited to play with this card in Constructed. I'm definitely throwing at least 1 copy into my Tears for Giant Fears deck. Just before I saw this reveal today, my thought was actually, I need to find a way to make Tears for Giant Fears a little more competitive against Control Spellsword, which has definitely become more popular in the last couple weeks. And my thought was just to go heavily into the same direction that control Spellsword goes itself by running Manticora, Marak, and Odahviing, so that I could go toe for toe with those, you know, giant cards. But I'm kind of tempted now to run a Heroic Rebirth or two and transform the excess small creatures I draw from my Triumphant Jarls and my East March Crusaders, the strength of the mid-range life gain Crusader archetype that I've really been... I mean, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I've been trying to make this work since September. But I'm definitely going to be trying Heroic Rebirth out. I'm really excited about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about Heroic Rebirth in regards to, though, is Arena. In Arena, it's like your entire deck is those kind of average small cards that are good in the aggro matchup, right? If you're drafting a reasonable, Arena deck, I think your deck's going to be have a lot of 2-drops in it, for instance. At least more than you're going to want to see on turns 10 plus, right? So Heroic Rebirth, again, card disadvantage, although I think in Arena more so even than in Constructed, where the pace is a little bit slower, card quality is of paramount importance, far more important than card advantage, in a case one-on-one basis. If my opponent has 3 cards in hand and they are all... I'm just going to go to a random page because I'm assuming there's a crappy creature there. If my opponent has 3 cards in hand and they're all Chain-to-Hull Sappers, it's not likely that that's going to do a whole lot of good for my opponent when my hand is 1 Chain-to-Hull Sapper and I have a Heroic Rebirth on it, and all of a sudden I have a Odahviing, right? I mean, these are extreme examples, but not that extreme. Consider Heroic Rebirth. What if Heroic Rebirth said, if you draw this card with an empty hand, the next 3 creatures you draw are going to be legendary, right? You could look at it like that. And I think that is definitely worth pursuing in Arena. I think this card has potential to just lead some really fun Arena games, and I think it's going to be really powerful in that format as well. I want to say too, I love the art on this. I like the Skyrim art. I think this is Skyrim. I assume that's a Nord being heroically reborn. Something about Sovngarde and for the Nords or whatever. But yeah, I'm just really excited about this card. I think it's cool. I think it walks a cool line too, where not only is this the sort of utility card that is properly costed, I think, for the effect. I think it's a sort of utility card that can find its way into several different kinds of decks, and I think it's a sort of utility sort of card in general that is going to inspire people to build new kinds of decks. You may not be immediately thinking to yourself when you see this card, "Oh, I need to build Goblin aggro," but this could be great in Goblin aggro. Absolutely. I'm really excited about this card. Hope you all are as well. I know that personally I am just at this point now where I am desperate for the announcement that we've been told is coming soon. I'm really excited about the future of this game when more people play it, but honestly, more than that, I'm excited about a whole bunch of new cards being released. So, assuming that happens soon, soon, my air quotes didn't show up on the camera that first time. I think it's a really, really exciting time to be playing. And in general, and I'm going to be releasing a video about this actually, an 11th episode of From Loser to Legend where I talk about this as a theme. But I just want to say that in general, I think it's important to remain optimistic about these sorts of things. For none of us, myself included, playing Elder Scrolls Legends is not a job. Like, this is a privilege and a hobby. And if you're not having fun right now, there are other things you can do that will revitalize your interest in the game. For me, stuff like Heroic Rebirth is exactly that sort of thing. A brand new card. And consider how exciting it is to get 1 card a month, or to get the Madhouse collection when it came out, right? In the near future, like, we're going to be given like 100 new cards or whatever it is. I don't even know. I'm just guessing. I have no idea, honestly. But whatever it is, we're almost there, and this is a really exciting time, in my opinion, that we're approaching. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on Heroic Rebirth. If you have cool deck ideas that you're going to put it into, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. I will see you all on the ladder. Bye-bye.